The Crown Vic has been America's cop car for nearly 20 years. But why? Who chose this as the official cop car? Who chooses the tanks? Who chooses the street sweepers? And most importantly, who pays for them? Today we're talking about how the government turns your hard-earned tax dollars into cars. Yeah!
You can't talk about government spending without mentioning the military. And the way the military gets its vehicles is even more complicated and expensive than you probably think. So let's say Intel's in, right? We might be going to war again.
Oh,
right?
crap.
The easiest thing to do would be to commission an automaker to convert an existing platform into a vehicle for military use, like the infantry squad vehicles from GM Defense, which are based off the Chevy Colorado ZR2 platform. Yes. But if you're going to a specific type of battlefield, you need specific needs, and that's when it gets even more complicated. First, the military will actually have to put together a list of specifications, like, okay, this is the terrain we're going to, these are the kind of ammunitions we're moving, and this is how many people need to fit in the thing. It also needs to tow this amount, and it needs to be able to go up a specific type of incline. All these things go into a big old pile, then they put out a call for submissions. So big companies like Lockheed Martin or something, right, will start making prototypes, and they all start to compete with each other for the lowest bid. Prototypes go off to the U.S. Army Test and Evaluation Command Center, where the military will put these vehicles through rigorous testing and decide which one they want to move forward with. One example is the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, or JLTV, which is the modern replacement for the Humvee, which, if you ask me, should have been replaced years ago. Initially, there were 3 companies competing for the bid to make the JLTV: AM General, Oshkosh, and Lockheed Martin. Each company would produce 22 prototype vehicles that were sent out for testing, and after factoring in the test results and costs, a $6.7 billion contract was awarded to Oshkosh to cover the first 8 years of production.
And keep in mind, this is not Oshkosh Bagosh, the clothing store for children.
Yeah.
This is a military company.
Oh, and by the way, Lockheed Martin was pissed, and they filed a federal suit against the Army to challenge the bid. But they withdrew the lawsuit after it was revealed that Oshkosh's vehicle lasted 6 times longer than theirs did during all the testing. So they got sour that their low bid wasn't.
I wouldn't want to be Lockheed Martin's enemy.
No. Also, that $6.7 billion is only a drop in the bucket of the total cost of the JLTV program. The government actually plans to spend $25 billion in total, which covers research and development, obviously, procurement, which is getting them where they need to go, military construction, putting them places and building around them, and acquisition-related operations and maintenance, because once you have a vehicle, you have to maintain the thing. So, where does that $25 billion come from? Tristan!
But let's be honest, military vehicles are far, far less cute than mail trucks. So let's talk about how the Postal Service winds up with its vehicles. The USPS is in charge of deciding what kind of automobile gets to deliver the mail. They started out using Jeep DJs in the 1950s.
Interesting.
DJ stands for dispatcher Jeep. And these were not only two-wheel drive only, but also right-hand drive, since postal workers need to constantly hop out on the curb on the side of the car.
Right.
The DJ ran from 1955 till 1984, and they phased out because of just how much mail was being sent around. By the 1980s, it was clear that the USPS needed something new. But instead of buying an existing vehicle and then modifying it to meet USPS standards like they did with the Jeeps, they decided it was time to commission a special-made vehicle. Similar to the JLTV, 3 manufacturers submitted prototypes: Grumman, Poveco, and AM General. Each of these vehicles went through a series of tests in Laredo, Texas. And this is how it goes, all right? This is what these poor little things had to go through. They had to travel 5,760 miles at 50 to 55 miles per hour.
Whoa.
Then they had to drive 11,520 miles over gravel road at 30 to 45 miles an hour.
Okay.
And then they had to move 2,880 miles over a road with a shoulder, stopping every 200 feet and accelerating up to 15 miles per hour every time they got moving. It's sort of mimicking stopping at each house.
Oh boy.
They also had to drive 960 miles over cobblestones and more.
Whoa.
The prototypes also had to carry a half-ton load for half of the testing, and a man plus a 400-pound load during another half of the testing.
Damn. This is thorough.
They were thorough with it. And each wheel needed to hit a pothole at least 35,000 tons.
All right, cool. I can't get mad at that, honestly.
I honestly...
I don't think anything else would survive that.
I'm happy that they were that thorough. And it goes to show because you still see these weird little box things on the road.
Yeah.
Other requirements included a weather-tight aluminum alloy body that was easier to enter for humans of different shapes and sizes, and that it must be able to run for 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, for years.
And that they have.
Mm-hmm. By 1985, the winner was announced. The Grumman Long Life Vehicle, or LLV. USPS ordered 99,150 LLVs for a price tag of $1.1 billion, which works out to around $11,000 per vehicle.
Wow.
Not bad. They called it the Long Life Vehicle for a reason. It was meant to live a long life. How long? 24 years.
The math ain't mathin' now. Why are they still using them?
Well, my friend, this video is called How the Government Picks Their Cars. Even if these things have managed to survive 15 years longer than expected, they are not good vehicles. Just ask your mailman the next time you see him. They're extremely underpowered thanks to the 90 horsepower Iron Duke.
It's using the Fiero motor?
It's using a Fiero motor, the Iron Duke 4-cylinder engine. This engine was already old when the mail truck began production. It was developed in the 1970s to combat the oil crisis, but don't assume it gets good gas mileage either. The Grumman LLV gets an average of 8.2 to 10 miles per gallon.
That's worse than my truck.
That is truly awful, okay? And to make things even worse, they don't even have AC, and that's why you always see those dinky metal fans inside of old mail trucks. It's literally the only thing keeping the postal workers cool. And that's not the end of it.
Oh, God.
These things constantly break down. Since they're 1,000 years old. The windshield washer line is mounted above the fuse box, creating a fire risk.
Oh boy.
From 2015 to 2019, over 120 mail trucks caught on fire just because of that. So why the hell did we get stuck with these awful trucks for so long?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, it's mainly because the USPS couldn't afford to replace them. Until now! In 2015, the USPS started asking around for new mail truck proposals and prototypes. Instead of only 3 companies competing to haul packages in your aunt's newspaper clippings, 15 qualified.
Whoa.
The specs were simple. The new truck needed to last between 12 and 20 years. They had to be able to carry 1,500 pounds and maintain a 65 mile per hour speed with a 0 to 60 of 35 seconds.
That's way easier of a test than before. PT Cruiser could pass this test.
There you go. From 15, only 6 suppliers were picked to make a prototype. AM General, Carson, Mahindra, Utility Master, Oshkosh Defense, and Workhorse VT Hackney. The prototypes were delivered in September of 2017 and 2021, and Oshkosh Defense was awarded the coveted contract, which allows for the delivery of 50 to 165,000 Oshkosh Next Generation delivery vehicles over the next 10 years.
Oh.
This contract is worth up to $6 billion, with their first order placed in 2022 for 50,000 vehicles. Of those 50,000, 10,000 were required to be fully electric. But since then, the USPS order has been revised to make sure half of those vehicles are electric.
Oh no.
We'll see. We'll see. If you're upset about your taxpayer money going towards such a goofy looking vehicle,
It is goofy.
it is. Guess what? Taxpayers shockingly aren't paying for it at all.
Oh!
Yes, the Postal Service is self-funded through the sales of stamps, product, and services.
Wow.
We love the Postal Service. But the future of these electric mail trucks isn't certain. Trump has threatened to cancel the Oshkosh contract as a part of his agenda targeting electric vehicles. So, hopefully these LLVs are good for another 40 years, because we might need them. Anyway, if you want to know more about the history of the horrible USPS trucks, check out our podcast, Pass Gas. We did a full episode about it, and it's good.
All right, let's talk about this specimen right here. Whenever you think about a cop car, you're probably thinking about this, the Crown Vic. But American car companies have been making specialized police vehicles since the 1940s.
It was introduced in 1992 up until 2011, so it had a long running life. The Crown Vic is probably the car you think about when you hear cop car. And there's a reason it was in production for so long. It had body on frame chassis, which made it super rugged and easier to repair. Its rear wheel drive has a stout 4.6 liter V8. It was powerful enough to keep up with most cars on the road. It was also huge. And importantly, it's modular, which means it can be upfitted in a million different ways depending on what a department needs.
Wait. You're saying cop cars get modified like our cars?
Custom.
They're like our brothers or something.
Generally speaking, police departments will purchase base cop cars from manufacturers, then have the cars upfitted by third-party companies. This is where it gets really specific. They add lights, sirens, bumper bars, radios, and even paint jobs. Jurisdictions have different needs, and there's an insane amount of aftermarket in the cop car industry. These days, most police fleets have shifted away from the dated Crown Vic and more towards SUVs, like the Explorer, the Tahoe, and a lot of departments are even going electric.
Who's paying for all this?
Cost depends on the car, where it's built, what kind of upfitting is needed, and usually it's the city council who approves the police budget. To give you an idea of what some places have spent recently, in 2022, Newport Beach Police Department bought 7 Ford Police Interceptor hybrid utility vehicles for a total of $421,661.
Jesus. Just for 7?
Just for 7. In 2023, Portland bought 144 police vehicles for a total of $10 million.
Oh my God!
And for an average cost of $70K per car. So, it's also important to realize that these costs are only the beginning because fleets have to be managed and maintained. Whether it's a cop car or military vehicle or garbage truck, there are different fleet management agencies whose sole purpose is to oversee how these vehicles are used and maintained. Larger cities have their own cop shops that maintain and repair police vehicles, and some towns rely on one central fleet maintenance garage for all their municipal vehicles. In some cases, departments will even hire local shops to repair their vehicles. I've lived in some small towns where like you see the cop cars parked outside like the one mechanic shop.
Cop cars and buses. They're all in the one shop.
Yep.
Everyone knows, oh, you're a diesel mechanic? You work at the bus place, don't you? Oh, yeah.
Most cop cars have a lifespan of around 5 years or 100,000 miles before they're retired. But again, it totally depends on the department. A Ford Explorer Interceptor from Needles, California racked up almost 400,000 miles before it was taken out of service.
That's an old man in the service. The last genre of vehicle we're going to talk about is municipal maintenance vehicles, like street sweepers, trash trucks, and snowplows. Unlike some of the vehicles we've already mentioned, these bad boys are generally owned by the local government instead of the feds, and in some cases, they aren't owned by the government at all. Take trash trucks, for example. They are purchased by both local governments and private companies, and the brands and cost vary widely. There are several different manufacturers like McNeilis, Heel, New Way, AmRep, Peterbilt, which we all know Peterbilt, Mack, we all know Mack. You know, you seen those new ones? They don't have to get out of the truck now. They just got a little controller.
Really?
They just...
My favorite are like when they pick them up and that they're packed so tight when they throw them back down, all the trash flies out.
A top-of-the-line truck can cost around $400,000 depending on the options that are chosen. Here in LA, we pay trash collection fees along with our monthly utility bills. Some places pay for trash collection through city taxes, and some private residences will contract private trash collection companies using homeowners association fees. Snowplows, on the other hand, only exist in places that need them. And in snowy places, plowing usually involves multiple layers of government. The state may be responsible for plowing interstates, counties may be responsible for maintaining their main roads, and local roads might get maintained by towns or homeowners associations. Snow plowing is typically paid for by property tax revenues, and in some places it's paid for by gasoline or other road taxes. And that brings me to my all-time municipal favorite, the street sweeper. These are so goofy.
They're so fun to
They're
look
so
at.
dumb sometimes.
It doesn't matter if you're like 8 years old or like just a 30-year-old man. When you see a street sweeper, you're like,
whoa. The first mechanical street sweeper was invented in 1894. And the first motorized street sweeper showed up in 1911.
What the hell? What?
That's fun. Got the 1 horsepower, big wheel. It's just picking up the poop from the horse, I imagine.
Okay,
That's pretty.
That's
all right.
neat.
That's
Really
about what you
cool.
expect.
Whoa.
Oh, this one. Hey, so this one has water. So this one actually does clean.
Oh, cool.
That's pretty cool. That one's not vacuuming anything though.
Yeah, is it, I think it's just mixing all the horse poop together into a slurry.
He's got 2 horses. The average cost of a sweeper is around $100,000 to $300,000, depending. But the Rolls Royce of street sweepers is the Battle Motors Elgin electric broom Bear. An $800,000 behemoth capable of sanitizing even the filthiest of streets.
Guys, we've barely scratched the surface of government cars, and there's a ton of other ones to cover, from airport tuggers to even the presidential limo. If there's another one you guys want to know about, let us know in the comments. I'm Tristan, this is Justin. Thank you guys for watching.